If you can't reach the business owner, the secretary won't let you through. If you sell B2B services, equipment, and decision makers are not responding, then this video is for you. I will explain how you can approach them directly, where to look without buying a contact database. You may have noticed that when you launch targeted ads, VIPs and actual decision makers, especially from large companies with the highest purchasing power, very rarely submit a request. In this video, I will explain what to do to have potential B2B clients for signing lucrative contracts with a high value. I will also explain where to find people using paid advertising and what approaches are available for this. If this topic is important to you, you will easily be able to understand it here. And at the end of the video, there will be additional very useful information for sales department managers and business owners. Lead generation on YouTube comes in two types. Inbound, which is when the client leaves a request through an advertisement, and the second method is outbound, where we write or call cold. What are the main lead generation channels in B2B? The first option is LinkedIn. This is a social network specifically created for sales, which measures and shows you the social selling index of each player in this field. In other words, it shows how successful you are compared to others. Another option is email. Yes, it's an old method of communication, but it hasn't gone anywhere. There are also American resources where companies collect reviews and receive orders from them, such as Clutch and Trustpilot. These platforms have a highly targeted audience of decision makers. If you have an IT company or complex services, you are looking for clients in America, in Europe, in Australia, and of course, there are the good old cold calls. In this video, we will figure out which of these will work for you and how to set it up. Let's start with LinkedIn. If the LinkedIn network is still unfamiliar to you, I recommend getting acquainted with it and creating a profile. You can test, for example, LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It is a database of almost all B2B clients and contacts from around the world, from all industries. In the past, there was a book, Yellow Pages, with the secretary's phone numbers, but now it's LinkedIn with the contacts of owners and directors. Because on Instagram and Facebook, it's difficult to find a specific contact person of a particular company. But the downside of LinkedIn is that many people send cold messages on LinkedIn, write messages, and get low conversion rates. For example, I have a client who has 2 lead generation departments. And on LinkedIn, they send out a bunch of messages every day, rarely getting interested clients. So you found the boss, sent a personal message, which is normal for LinkedIn, but there is no response. It is also difficult to sell, for example, in Germany, America, and Europe, because the whole world is writing. Indians and Pakistanis, who number in the millions and even billions, are attacking the world's top companies to break through, and you are participating in this competition. But the advantage is that it's a competition, and if you prepare properly, you can win. I will explain the stages of building a lead generation and sales system on LinkedIn. The first step is gathering a contact database. For example, there are online services that help collect emails for specific LinkedIn accounts. There are online services that send automatic mailings to the database, and there are also mailings through LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but it is paid. Because it is completely legal, you get the profile of a specific contact person and hundreds of people who work at the target company. To achieve a high conversion rate, you can have 2 lead generation options on LinkedIn. The first is to engage in hyper-personalized communication. That is, to use an account-based selling approach. Sometimes it takes a whole 15 minutes to write a quality email so that the person reads it and thinks that it is not spam, but written specifically for them, and it is interesting to read. That is, we are not considering a contact for mailing, but a real person whose thoughts we find and study in their posts. One of my clients, thanks to this approach, receives 34 responses from 100 messages to a cold audience and secures about 5 quality meetings, resulting in 1-2 sales. The second option. This is the so-called generic approach. If you don't do personalization, you send out the same thing. In order to get 5 meetings, you need to send out about 1,000 to 2,000 typical messages, not 100 as in the previous version. I hope you realize that personalized communication yields better results and higher conversion rates, but it requires more attention and time when it comes to investment. Of course, the generic approach is cheaper and easier to start. That means you don't need to hire a manager who will spend the whole day racking their brain about what to write to the client. You set it up and wait for the lead. But if this method hasn't yielded results, then you have no choice but to write qualitatively and personally. Let me provide some statistics. I recently spoke with a more or less successful company. There are 4 lead generators working there, and out of 2,000 messages, they received only 32 calls, with only 12 interested and 0 sales. The owner is the only one making sales through referrals and is investing in the lead generation department. They use a generic approach, meaning they send almost the same thing to everyone. And the second case is more positive. Out of just 600 cold contacts, there were 20 quality meetings and 8 contracts worth over $100,000. Because a special count-based selling approach was used, an author's technology that is super personalization. There is an even more advanced option for outbound work and LinkedIn lead generation. That is, to send cold messages and invite to a free masterclass, as some companies do when cold mailings do not work at all. That's why they work through a masterclass, such as a webinar or a live broadcast. And do you know what the advantage of LinkedIn is over other social networks? First, this is a business audience, including top managers, decision makers, marketers, managing partners, and so on. And the second advantage is that you are not just gaining any followers, but you can target specific contacts. For example, specific engineers to a specific director, because that's how LinkedIn is structured. On Instagram, if you follow someone, it doesn't necessarily mean they will follow you back, especially if these are accounts with significantly more followers. But LinkedIn doesn't have this problem. You send an invite, and every 3rd person adds you, and in some cases, at most, every 10th person. Why? Because on LinkedIn, everyone wants to expand their network. And this is one of the main mechanics of LinkedIn. If you don't want to spam and wish to save time on establishing connections with target contacts, you can set up an auto-invite using software that will not only send invites to a specific group of certain contacts, but also send personalized messages, essentially selling for you. I know exactly what to write to get a top executive to respond to you, want to know too. Write personally for a demo meeting and I will show you. That is, LinkedIn has a function to choose, not a segment of the target audience, but to select a group of specific individuals who match the criteria you need. There is also a more organic strategy, making posts. This is called social selling. If you have already built a database, you can start making trigger posts. In a few months, some of them will become your clients. Long. Don't forget that these are legal entities. Their directors are hard to reach by phone. Don't want to wait many months for social selling to work. Look for personalized cold outreach or set up specific software. Analyze leads, analyze customer motives by looking at their LinkedIn page, get quality meetings with good conversion rate. If this is still a dense forest for you, write me the word test on Instagram or Telegram. Contacts are in the description under the video. With me, you can create a message or a cold call script, analyze your sales department or lead generation, and find solutions that will work for you and provide a breakthrough. Wishing you great sales.